Hello, nice to be with you today. I am back from California where my son got married. Lots of fun, and I'm glad to be there, and I'm glad to be back here in Pittsburgh. It's always nice to be home. Today I'm going to talk about Section 5 of your case study, and really the community and the broader context is what I'm going to focus on. I want to help you do that section. And when I think about that section, I think about us all being boats going down a river. We're traveling down a river and we feel pretty good about our navigational skills. We feel safe. We feel like we have things under control. However, on the river, there are currents we need to deal with. There'll be places where things are moving very slowly, very calm, and then we'll approach rapids. There'll be barriers, there'll be rocks and sticks in the river, which will cause us to change our course and potentially could capsize us. But we'll be wearing life vests to protect ourselves. Likewise, we'll have to encounter the weather, something we have no control over. So we may be facing very warm, sunny days, very pleasant days. We may be facing very hot days, or even very cold days, or rain, or wind, or chills, and we may get wet. So as we travel down, so if we look at our projects, we want to think about ourselves trying to navigate a very big river, of which we are a small ship, and trying to figure out what makes sense. Where are the currents? What can we do to protect ourselves? And what is impacting our program? Because if we're able to figure out what's going to impact our program, then we can prepare for that. And we can build strategies and get interventions and get supports to deal with what happens. Right now in the state of Pennsylvania, we have one wonderful example of a bigger context of projects, and that is the state budget. There is no state budget. So all of us are waiting to hear what the governor, what the politicians are going to decide, and we have no control, no power, and yet we have to deal with the consequences of their decisions, of their behavior. As you begin to work on Section 5 of your case study, you want to think about writing from one of 4 points of view, or maybe 2 points of view. First is to focus on partnerships and collaborations. Think around your school, university, community-based organization, which is involved in partnerships or collaborations, and what's the motivation for the participation. Partnerships are typically thought of as being local. Someone comes to a school and says, we want to do a project to serve a certain need, and the school has students, has resources, so they want a partnership with them to do a particular program. Likewise, the school may be reaching out into the community, those brick and mortar buildings where life happens, and says, we have a need and we want a partnership with you to address a particular issue. We think about partnerships mostly being local, and we want to think in terms of your small project. Are there things that you can write about where perhaps there's a partnership happening and that is impacting your case study, or there's a partnership that needs to happen locally and you have identified that? Likewise, collaborations are more regional. We think oftentimes about them being statewide, and we're putting in the big infrastructure. I did a lot of work in my career related to mental health programs, particularly school-based mental health programs. Partnerships at the local level made sure that community agencies were being partners with local school districts to provide services to students, to make sure that there was access to a wide variety of local agencies. At the state level, we were much more involved with collaborations which put in place funding, laws, legislation, so that wherever a student was, there would be consistent services. So think about your project, your little case study. And so are there partnerships, are there collaborations which can be happening, that need to happen, which you think are important, and write about those succinctly. Number one. That's one area you can focus on. Number two, you can look at social determinants. At one point in time, We would think about communities as being neighborhoods. Pittsburgh has lots of neighborhoods, and people live and work and relax within neighborhoods in the Pittsburgh area. We have rich histories. Over time, though, demographic characteristics have also begun to be the basis of communities. We are males, we are females, we have certain ethnicities, certain religions, and we are part of those communities. And those communities exist outside of the school building, outside of the brick and mortar community, this physical location. They span the region, they span the state, they span many areas. And likewise, someone could be rural, could be urban, it could be poor, could be rich. Each one has different access, different privilege, different status, and we see differences in programs that we are doing. So you can write about how the different demographics, the different disparities, the inequities that exist, and how your case study is either trying to address those inequities or how your case study has identified inequities and is working to achieve some balance and some equanimity between different groups. So focusing on social determinants and trying to understand the role of social determinants. Certainly in the health fields, we have seen, and education likewise, there are great disparities based on pure demographics of individuals in terms of what the eventual outcomes will be and what could be done to address those, particularly for vulnerable populations. So social determinants. The third point of view you can take and think about are the socioeconomic factors. And these factors are factors which swell up like storms very quickly, and ones that we need to be prepared to deal with. But we're not always sure how or when they're going to occur. Technology, changes in the economy, the new laws, issues related to culture, or there are a number of different social economic factors which impact the economy, impact resources, which directly will have an impact on your program. Earlier I talked about the state budget and how in this case we simply need to wait. So what strategies, what can we do? Taking our weather metaphor, what raincoat do we need to have to protect us when these storms come? And these are big storms. These can be very big waves at time and very far away from our program, but quite negative oftentimes. Important for us to think about, and you can write about those. The fourth point you can write from relate to politics. And when we look at political issues, we're particularly concerned around legislation and how the government is spending their money. In terms of legislation, I've spoken a lot about the Affordable Care Act and the impact it's had on my work with children, adolescents, and adults, trying to figure out how to get health care to individuals in a variety of settings. Important thing for you to think about. Is there a piece of legislation? It can be at the state level. It doesn't need to be at the federal level or even local level, which is impacting your program, and perhaps you have a suggestion for a piece of legislation that could improve linkages, could improve services, or is inhibiting the delivery of is interfering with your case, the area that you're studying in your case study, to try to figure that out. Likewise, in terms of government spending, and this could be local, it could be state or federal, where is the money going? And perhaps you can identify where money needs to be given, where it should be going, where you would like it to go. I now want to talk about the resources I posted for you on CourseWeb to help you write your Section 5. I presented in the first part of this video 4 potential approaches you can take in writing your Section 5. The influence and impact of partnerships and collaboration, social determinants, socioeconomic factors, and politics in your work. In writing your Section 5, you're trying to connect and link your small piece of work to the larger environment as a means to try to understand the influence and interaction, between your work and the larger, broader environment. The data we use to construct Section 5 is not generally data that we've collected, but rather data that's been collected by other people for other purposes, thus secondary data it's called. However, this data is available to us. And generally, when I'm looking for data sources for this broader database, which comes from interviews, surveys, observation, and artifacts that other people have collected, I'm really looking at three sources. One, the government, mostly federal, but it can also be state and local. I'm looking for professional and advocacy organizations and foundations. When I posted on the web for you, first from the government, were three sources, large databases where they've collected program information across many different types of programs. You'll see what works Clearinghouse really focus on education programs. The evidence-based programs, both and research test interventions, are more health and medical. You can go online and search through the many databases that are available through the government sources to find a database which matches your needs. The next piece I posted is from the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation, the Johnson Johnson people. It's a nice example of what the kind of work that foundations are doing. This is a community health initiative. It's broad-based. They're looking at multi-sector involvement. And in fact, on page 14, if you go back, you open up the PDF and look at the report, page 14 shows you a nice figure of the wide range of collaboration, and then the whole report just shows various data and various sections that they're working in. So worthwhile to see. After that, I posted a piece from ASCD. At one time, it used to be the American Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. Now they're just going with the acronym. This is the whole school, whole community, whole child initiative website. And I encourage you to explore that, trying to get this broad picture of education and the interaction and influence between schools and the much wider community, much broader context. Worthwhile to look at. The third thing you'll find that I posted is I wanted to share with you material which does mapping using multiple sources of data, GIS and a couple other techniques to really plot out and do a visual representation of programs and data to help understand data, help understand the interaction and the influences. So you'll see one's called County Health Ratings and Roadmaps, also done by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and you get to actually plot. You can go in and check out your community, and you can plot things happening in the community and look at the interaction. Food deserts, not something we'll particularly focus on, but very worthwhile just to understand the use of data, and you can get very visual effects on what's happening. And also there's one called Mapping Out of School Time Resources for East Palo Alto and Bellhaven Youth, trying to match youth activity with resources and where the youth are, interacting, you get to see the influence. Important. I've also posted 2 writing samples for you to help you as there's examples I thought would be worthwhile for you to look at to see as models for your own writing. The first is labeled pages 330 to 334, says challenges. It's from a book chapter of colleagues of mine writing about challenges for school health programs, both at the K-12 and university level. So interesting to see both of those pieces. Also, as part of this, of these couple pages I took out of the chapter for you, are some data sources that they use. And I thought they might be some additional information for you as you work to find sources and find information. The next piece is a piece that I did, and it's labeled pages 16 to 20, and it's about workplace health promotion programs. Also has a figure 1.3, socioeconomic factors. So you get to see this as a graphic representation of these factors. Interesting for you to consider the interaction between what I'm writing and these figures. as we go forward, I have posted for you a number of, or I have posted the schedule to help you really kind of pace your work now. So you'll see that the first draft of sections 1, 2, and 3 we want you to upload those by Saturday, November 28th. And then we want you to upload by Wednesday, December 2nd, sections 4, 5, and 6. That will give us, all the professors, myself, Cindy, Jen, and Kevin, chance to review them and read them. Because on Saturday, December 5th, we want you to bring 3 copies of your completed draft to class, and we're going to do a series of peer review, plus we're going to review, everyone in each grade group will meet individually with us so we can do professor feedback to you also. Once you are done that feedback, you'll then have until December 14th to revise and edit your paper and then submit it. The deadline for submission is December 14th. That way you'll get the strongest product and strongest paper and be able to have a paper that you can carry forth and use as a model for your writing. I want to conclude this video just by reflecting where we are in the course. If I go back to our river metaphor, which I used earlier in the video, we are certainly in the final stages of our trip. However, we're not at the end yet. In fact, we still have considerable distance to cover, since writing is a major part of the case study project, and you've done the outline, but you've got a lot of work ahead of you. And it may be difficult, it may be challenging, you can expect some hard times. I want to encourage you to push on, to work hard. The more we can do revisions, the more drafting, redrafting we do when we write, the stronger the papers are. Don't hesitate to write. Try to write every day. Think about it, because it's important work. Your work's important and it needs to get out. And the best way to get it out is to get it out on paper and pencil. Get it on paper so we can share it and give you feedback. So it's not going to be smooth riding, smooth sailing, smooth paddling, but I do want to take a moment for you just to kind of breathe and relax and enjoy the moment. I do want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and we are looking forward to seeing you in class on December 5th with your 3 copies of your paper. Thank you.